The Bone Man, Michael Davis.
Trombonist Michael Davis is regarded as one of the premier bone men on the contemporary jazz scene. He's made a living playing an instrument that's more often seen in marching bands than on stage. For 8 years, he held the lead trombone chair with Frank Sinatra, and more recently, he spent 5 years on the road with the Rolling Stones. While performing at the University of Toronto, he was promoting his latest CD, Bone Town.
I think the trombone is one of the most beautiful instruments of all wind instruments. A lot of people say it's the closest thing to the human voice. It has a real smooth, mellow quality. You have such flexibility in terms of bending notes and moving from note to note. You can, with the slide, unlike, say, a saxophone where you're just pressing down a key, you don't have that flexibility like you do with your voice, and that you can drop notes and raise notes by quarter and half steps like you can with the trombone. I think the stigma that's attached to the trombone, you know, sort of comes from the 76 trombones and the parade and the loud and the brash kind of playing. So I think, you know, maybe it just comes from that, but I think the instrument is capable of just glorious sounds, and it's one of the only instruments that you can combine with the same instrument, having multiple trombones and create a beautiful sound. Try to approach it more finessefully and more trying to make the sound very pretty and very listenable. You know, I try to make it maybe closer to a flugelhorn than the standard stereotype of what the trombone might sound like. Although many trombone players, the history of many great trombone players who approach it with that same sort of smooth legato approach. Tommy Dorsey's probably the only sort of super well-known name, so it certainly is a style that I've tried to emulate. I felt incredibly fortunate to play with Sinatra, and especially for how long I got to play with him. I think if I had to pick one gig to do for the rest of my life, it'd probably be that one, because the music is just so great. And every chart in his book was an absolute winner. And, you know, there's no question he was one of the great entertainers of all time. And even towards the end, when his skills weren't as high up as they were, you know, in his heyday, something about him walking out on stage was really magical. We had done a concert in Richmond, Virginia. I think it was in 1993, maybe 94, I can't remember. But he collapsed on stage. And I remember sitting in the band and watching him, and you could just see he was sort of getting a little uncertain where he was, and he was imbalanced, and all of a sudden he just fell over and hit his head on the monitor. It was just like a tree falling over, and I just looked at it. I couldn't believe it. It was just like he was dying right there. And as it turned, as luck would have it, fortunately he did not. He just had severe dehydration. Anytime you lose somebody like that, even if you're not associated with them, it's a big loss. Touring with the Stones is absolutely the greatest gig a musician could have. I mean, they are great guys to work for. They're very generous in terms of treating the band well and making us feel a part of it. You know, from time to time, you get a little craziness rubs off. Well, one of the things I really liked a lot is they had a bartender on stage. So I tried to take kind of full advantage of that. That was a lot of fun. Never to excess, but it's really funny to see it help sort of create a nice feeling and get the right mood for going on stage. I get asked a lot if why I think the Stones are where they're at and why they don't stop. And I think it really breaks down to the same reason they're so successful, and in that they just care so much about the music, and they care about their shows, and they care about making their fans happy, and they want to play. And it always astounded me that they could be so intense about their performances at this point in their lives. I mean, it's like they're 20-year-olds in a band that are going out for their first show. I get asked a lot if there's a big difference between being a sideman and being a leader, and it's so dramatic, I can't even put it into words. From a positive standpoint, I think any musician would agree that getting an opportunity to play your own music is the best case scenario and the best situation you could possibly find. I think at this point the trombone is so much a part of me that the thought of playing something else wouldn't really sit well. I consider myself a trombone player, and that's what I do.